Hello, work besties. What if the foods you love are secretly draining your energy and making you work harder? Feeling sluggish, unmotivated, or maybe even irritable at work? I'm sure that's not because of your bestie, though.
No.
That's probably because you might be having too much caffeine. I know I am. But it also could be related to your gut health. And today we have Kate Ricciardi here to break down the gut-brain connection and how it impacts your focus and workplace relationships. And most importantly, the sneaky food mistakes that's wrecking your energy. So stay with us until the very end because Kate is revealing the biggest hidden culprit behind workplace fatigue and how you can fix it.
Hi, I'm Claude.
And I'm Jess.
We are corporate employees by day, entrepreneurs by night, and work besties for life.
Join us as we explore how work besties lift each other up, laugh through the chaos, and thrive together in every industry.
Work besties.
Welcome, Kate. We're so excited to have you on.
Welcome, Kate.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Would you mind giving a little bit of a background on yourself and how you became into this field of work?
Well, I am a registered dietitian, doctor of physical therapy, and I have been doing that for, a total of about 20 years now between both of them. First dietitian, and then the physical therapy piece came. So I've been trained in the conventional mindset, especially being a dietitian, that there is a diet for a diagnosis, and then that's what you do. And with my own struggles with IBS and migraines, especially eye migraines, where I initially thought I was like having a stroke because my left field of vision was just completely gone with this like shiny aura here. That was like super scary. And I was told, well, it's an eye migraine, so you're just going to have to deal with it. And I was not going to accept that. So it's like, that's not okay. And reflux and acne, oh my gosh, like acne forever. I did all the things, all the antibiotics, Accutane, like the whole 9 yards. And now that explains a lot of the IBS, right? So having that conventional mindset where I was dealing with my own stuff, especially IBS, that was really just taking over my life, making it really hard to be a physical therapist, where I was working in assisted living facilities, independent living facilities, and having a quick run to the bathroom. Like that's very, very stressful. The stress there in the workplace just was a lot. Quality of life, quality of everything really took over. So thinking back to, doing all of the things, right, where CT, MRI, all the labs, everything looks normal, but you have to just deal with these things and try to function throughout your day. Like there's no way that I can function. So I really threw away basically that conventional knowledge that I had, especially from the nutrition side of things, and really got down to the why, because that was the question that no one could answer for me. And even with my own, food is my life here. This is what I do, food, nutrition, being a dietitian. And I still couldn't get over this. Pivoting to that why, root cause, functional, integrative, personalized piece of things was really what finally pivoted everything and gave me my life back. Long road to get there, but I finally did. And that's where I am now with the practice that I have, and really looking to help other, mostly women, really figure things out for themselves so that they can get through their workday, like brain fog, fatigue, low energy, all that kind of stuff. It impacts us on a daily basis, decision making, like all of these things. And it's really then hard to get through the day. And then you get home and you have nothing left in the tank. So really looking at whole body.
Kate, your journey is probably one that a lot of people have experienced too, but how did you know, what was the thing that really pushed you to say there's something wrong here and I need to fix it? And how'd you figure that out?
So the thing being, this is absolutely not okay. I cannot continue to live like this, was honestly with IBS, just being in this constant fear of food, not knowing what I could eat. And then having the experience too, just from the, outside, the aesthetics was being mistaken for being pregnant when I wasn't. It's like, oh my gosh, this is just, there's a lot of things here, really filling that emotional bucket. So that was really the thing that needed to change. When I started looking at why, the functional integrative, like what's really going on here, and discovering inflammation, especially with the irritable bowel, migraine, acne, like all these things, the gut being the root of so much, and doing personalized testing and actually getting to, okay, these are the things. Because I was doing the elimination diets. Like I was trying to figure out, is it oats? Is it chocolate? Was it coffee? Was it apples? I don't know. Too much fiber, not enough. And I was just wasting so much time showing up to work. Like, I'm tired. I know I'm not giving it my best. And that's not the kind of mentality that I have, right? Like if there's something worth doing, do it well. And so really pivoting to that, okay, now I know exactly, like I should not be eating avocados because they're inflammatory for me. And doing that sort of protocol calmed everything down. And I was able to completely eradicate what I had going on. Like it was amazing, a complete game changer.
More or less, you were testing what you could eat. You must have done that for a long time because there is so much different food, right?
Yeah.
How long did it take to have this process from I can have that, but this does not work?
The test that I did, I ended up getting certified in this to really be able to implement this protocol. And so it's for me personally going through it, it was about 5 or 6 weeks where I knew exactly what foods, and there was a very strategic way to bring things back in. You know what's going on, and this is how you're going to do it moving forward to really calm down what's going on in the gut, the immune system, and let everything kind of reset. And then when I started looking into that, looking at the other piece of things like the nervous system and how the gut, the brain are connected, we have all of these pieces. It's not just food that helps, but also, you know, our perspective and all these other things. So really taking this head to toe approach inside out was really what made the difference. But the food piece was huge, absolutely huge.
And I'm sure that, you know, because you went through that, you can really relate to your clients.
Absolutely.
And that makes such a big difference, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
So Kate, you kind of hit on that food is obviously one of the biggest game changers, but it's not just food, it's also the mood. Can you talk a little bit more about that and what you mean?
When we're thinking of that gut-brain connection, right? What we have going on, really thinking of inflammation being one of these root cause, like drivers of all of these different things. If the gut's not able to function properly, it's inflamed. We get these little tight junctions that start to open up and it allows other things through. We get these inflammatory mediators that go throughout the body. Then that can affect how those neurotransmitters are working, right? So here's that brain piece that's coming in. It shares that vagus nerve and it can affect dopamine, serotonin, all of these different things that can really hit to that mood. And then it can also affect hormones too. So what's going on in the gut there, if there's an estrogen, progesterone imbalance, which we start to see women midlife, 40s, we talk about this perimenopause time where if progesterone's out of balance, if there's too much estrogen, not enough progesterone, it can start to affect what's going on there. So when we add that and then the neurotransmitters, we can really start to see those changes in mood, and it can be, you know, really disruptive to people's lives, make it hard to get through the day, or they don't feel, you know, as productive as they should be, that energy, that sense of calm or whatever it is.
Do you think, Kate, that the mood element or even the hormone element could be masked and it really is the food? Like, how does somebody figure that part out?
So I like to take it step by step so that we don't feel like we have these muddy water looking at the food, because that's one of those big constant things. We're eating, unless you're, you know, doing some sort of fasting or whatever, but for most of us, we're eating multiple times every day. So that's a big piece where we can start to have that control and then see how that affects one thing affects another, instead of, you know, like I've had clients where they're trying to do all this stuff with diet and then they're taking like handfuls of supplements and they're not really sure what's working, trying to be just a little bit more systematic about it. So we can say like, okay, yep, like I did change how much caffeine I'm drinking. And then that was something that made a difference. Or I took out bread or whatever it is, but having these little incremental changes so that you don't feel like, oh my gosh, now I need to go and spend like $350 on supplements. Maybe that's not really what we need to do, or do all this like hormone testing. So trying to do one thing at a time.
How long does it take to see a difference? Because, for example, making it up, I'm removing coffee.
Yeah.
You won't see a difference the day after. So usually what is the length that you can actually see, okay, that made a difference?
When we're thinking of it first from the inflammatory perspective, it can take about up to 72 hours to see a change or a reaction there. So when we're thinking of it, yeah. And so going through like that protocol that I mentioned, I like to tell people the first 14 days, because we didn't get here overnight to where we are. So it is going to take a little bit of time if we're thinking about food to let everything clear out. It's like windshield wipers, right? Like the first swipe on a really dirty car, like let's say there's mud there, one swipe isn't going to do it. It's going to take a couple passes before everything gets clear. That first 2 weeks, I feel, is a good period of time to see, okay, this is the magic that we can do when we're changing up the food. And then if we're still not seeing a whole lot of change, then we're going to look deeper. Are there other things like histamine that's going on, lectin? So we start to just get into more, I call it the digestive detective work, where we're then looking for patterns. Or is it, I'm tired, I'm having a hard time focusing because my blood sugar is all over the place. Taking those extra layers, looking like that.
So as you at one point, something that really made me think about the perimenopause portion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like obviously, so does it mean that more or less we should reassess, depending on where we are in life, reassess our gut health and also the way we eat?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, especially because we know we didn't get to where we are overnight, right? So the choices that we make in, say, like our 20s and our 30s are going to show up. And I feel like my perspective on this has been influenced a lot by working in the assisted living, the independent living, because I had so many conversations with women. One resident, she was 89 and she was out walking 3 miles a day. She was playing tennis. She was taking flights to go visit family all over the place. And she's like, oh, I'll just call an Uber. And she was doing her own thing versus having someone who was in a wheelchair and really frail, having a lot of falls. And I remember distinctly having conversations like, oh, honey, grabbing my arm, don't do what I did. Take care of yourself, right? Like, don't put everybody else first. And so those are the kinds of things, like being in those experiences, seeing what it's like to lift a frail lady out of bed, and doing all those kinds of things. Like, that quality of life is so important. And I think it means so much. So constantly reassessing, being aware of things. Some people are really into the health aspect, others aren't. And I mean, wherever you are, whatever you're interested in, right, lights you up, go do that. But we know that health is such a big piece of everything. If we don't have our health, then it's hard to have other things.
It's almost like the practice of getting your health, I don't want to say right, but like the practice of understanding your reaction to the things that you're eating and really checking in with your gut at an early age will only benefit you even longer term. So it seems there's never too late to do it, but the earlier, probably the more benefits.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So in your, whether your journey personally or in your journey of working with other clients, what is that biggest game changer that does help in the healing of women? Or is it kind of different just depending?
I think, well, it can be both, right? I think perspective and our mindset has so much to do with it. More just thinking about where we are, what we're doing, the pressure that we put on ourselves. I should be doing this. I should be doing that. That's not really serving you, right? Because it just leads this sense of guilt, this just mindset of, I'm not doing enough, when you're doing the best that you can with the knowledge that you have, right? And there's always the ability to learn more. We don't know what we don't know. So that answer could definitely go both ways.
What you're in essence saying is it's a mind shift change, right? Do you feel there's ways to help your clients really stick to this new habit? Are there things that they should be thinking to do more so?
Most people that go through like my one-to-one program and myself, it's that mindset map is what I call it, where we're really thinking of, let's be honest with ourselves. If I'm looking at my situation in the third person, right? Like I'm the outside observer coming in, which can be really hard to do because it's just that subtle shift to that subconscious identity. Like I've been having coffee first thing in the morning forever. And now maybe that's not really working if there's like stress and cortisol and all these things that are coming into play. But if you're like, let me step back in the third person, really see where I might have these roadblocks during the day and how that can come in and then what I can do to change it. So I like to talk about what are these either limiting beliefs or these barriers that we have, current habits that just sink in, and this is what I do, and this is what I do when I'm stressed or busy or whatever, tired, whatever it is, and really work from that place. So there's more awareness. And then the other big thing that comes up too is, well, I can't do this, right? And there's that objection to it. But I like to say, but if your friend was talking like this, or your daughter or your son or whoever, someone important to you was talking like that, what would your knee jerk? Oh no, I would never let them talk like that. Like I would want to give them like the cheerleader motivation. So why aren't we doing that for ourselves? Instead of being so hard on ourselves, say, this is where I am, that's okay. And then I'm going to make a plan to move forward.
And I'm going to ask this question knowing that this is going to say something I have to look in the mirror and challenge myself. I'm one of those people that drink coffee every morning. It's just, I think it's routine. And I know it's not great for me, and I probably should at least limit, if not cut it out fully. But I think I do suffer through that one of, I can't do it because I've been doing it for so long. Is there, I guess, besides saying to the person, like third person, look at yourself, if you were to say this to Claude, you would encourage her. Is there anything else that you've seen that's worked?
So when we're thinking of getting into the subconscious and the like that identity that we want to change, something really simple that's worked for a good number of people, myself included, is leaving a Post-it note. Like drink water before coffee, like small changes. So, you know, that old saying of like the low hanging fruit, right? What's one little tweak that you can do before making this big change? Like we're not going to go out and run a marathon before walking and then running. So like, I'm just going to go and run a marathon tomorrow. Like, no big deal, right? It doesn't happen. So the Post-it notes, because your brain likes to see things. And then when you say it out loud, like, okay, I drink water before I drink my coffee. That can be a really powerful thing too, just for the brain, because the brain likes to function really in like pictures. So whatever we tell it, that's the reality that it believes. So something as simple as the Post-it to change whatever the little habit is that you can get that quick win to help build up that confidence and keep that momentum going can be really, really beneficial.
And I was going to go there too.
Yeah.
You have the coffee portion. I have, as people like can see the way I am, I stress it.
Okay.
Like I still remember I was in a meeting about 2 weeks ago that it was very stressful. And I was eating those Chick-a-Boom, popcorn, like nonstop. Or suddenly I get up, I say, I need chocolate. So how do you actually change this way of thinking that I'm stressed, I need to eat? And usually it's not like an apple, right? It's junk food. Exactly. So how do you change that mindset?
First, stepping back, because you don't think about it. You don't say, okay, I'm going to go to the cabinet now and I'm going to open the bag of popcorn and I'm going to have this or the chocolate, right? You just do it. So
I'm going.
It's this autopilot, automatic, yes. Because that's the brain, that's subconscious. Okay, in this situation, when I feel this way, this is what I do. So as that quick behavior, just stopping before you like actually open the bag, let's say, do I really need this? Do I want it or do I need it? Or what benefit is this giving to me? So just having like that little internal dialogue, having that self-talk, talking to yourself, whether it's first person or third person, however, resonates with you, that can be something just to like have that pause. Okay, I know what I'm doing here. Have this, do I really want it or do I need it? Or can I take like just a couple breaths before actually diving in? Or maybe it's even, you know what? I do want the chocolate, but instead of grabbing, say, a handful of chocolate chips or like a couple bars on like the chocolate bar, let me just take one, walk away, remove yourself from the situation and see how you feel. So you still get that little hit of chocolate, but maybe it's not in the quantity that you had if you're looking to change that behavior because you're concerned about, sugar or the caffeine or whatever it is. Those can be some just little small steps to take.
I think we know our call to attention of what we need to do.
Yes.
I literally wrote,
and also
water.
Yeah. And me like, take one.
Right.
Or don't buy.
Yeah, but like sometimes those things like, hey, you know what? Like this helps me get over. It bridges that gap from where I am, makes me feel better. And then I'm going to move on. I'm not going to stay in that place, especially like emotional eating. That's such a big thing. Stress eating, that emotional eating. Okay, I'm going to have this, maybe not in the same quantity because I know I want to do something different. And then you move on. And I think then just like removing yourself from that situation, your brain seeing in symbols and just having those associations with this room, this is what I do. And then having that little bit of a pause and then see how it feels when you're then distracted with something else if you want to make those changes.
And I love the way you're thinking. It's not as drastic, little step, because a lot of time, if you quit suddenly, you're going to binge.
Right. Yep.
eat, or you'll have 3 liters of coffee.
Right.
So I like the way you're going. Say, okay, we know you need it, but just
like slowly.
slowly.
Right. Yeah.
So Kate, I realize that technically, I think the right answer would be people should, if they want to make these changes, they should come to somebody like you first. So I do want to make sure we make that call out there, and we'll include your information in our speaker notes. I'm going to ask this question because we are about work besties. Is there things that once they do come to you or somebody like you to kind of help understand ways to better their own health, are there ways that the work bestie relationship can also assist in this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when we keep so many things to ourselves, like we feel, and there's this narrative, and I hear this a lot, like, oh, I'm alone. There can't be possibly anybody else who's going through what I'm going through. And that's so not true. Like, I really wish that we would be more open about, hey, this is really what's going on, instead of, everything looking so wonderful from the outside. Like, hey, I'm going to be vulnerable here. Like, this is something that I'm struggling with. And maybe that work bestie is like, oh my God, I am too. I didn't realize. And, we just want to keep these things to ourselves because we think everyone else is just doing so great. But that can be a moment to say, hey, you know what? Like, now I'm connecting with you on a deeper level, right? Like, this relationship matters to me because connection and community is so important for our mental health, our emotional health. But then even from the perspective of keep me accountable, right? If you see me going down this path and you know that I really want to make this change, like having that little bit of accountability can be really helpful. And I struggle with that word too, because this accountability, this watching, like I feel like there can be a negative association with it, but I think it's just that awareness, right? I have somebody who's in my corner knowing that they're going to support me in my goals, the things that I want to do. So having that conversation.
It's like a supportability versus accountability.
Yeah. I like that. Yes.
Yes. I don't know if you remember. I think you don't remember. But last year, we used to work side by side.
Okay. Literally this close. Yeah. That's how this all started.
I love it.
At work, we used to have like jars of candies. And that, as I said earlier, this is my downfall. I'm stressed. I'm going to take the whole thing. Yeah. And I remember, and it did work for a while until you left, actually, to go to it. It's your fault. To the 2 floors up, 1 floor up. I said, if you see me eating a candy, I'll give you $1.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And I'm so cheap.
Yeah. That was the motivator.
It was a motivator, and I didn't eat. You didn't have $1
you would say it to me all the time. You're like, I'm not paying you today because I didn't have candy. I'm like,
okay, yeah.
That's another way also that you don't have the negative. You have the accountability.
You came up with that. It wasn't like I said to you, pay me $1. So you do need.
You know what I would have told you.
Yeah, you would. I think then it goes into the negative.
But that is, work with your work besties. What worked for the person,
and your ability to kind of respect and bounce off of each other.
Right. Yeah.
Is the sharing with your work bestie, I think, is definitely something. It's a resounding theme, to be fair. Yeah. Having that other person just to bounce ideas off of in a judgment-free way, I think is so helpful.
And support.
And this, to your point, this is kind of a topic that most people would not necessarily be afraid of, but just not think to share. And it's so cool, right? It can just affect your whole day.
Yeah.
And you've given us some ideas already about this, but when we think about the work life and the stress that some of that brings on, what are some kind of easy, gut-friendly habits that should be thought of at work? Maybe one of them is don't have a big tub of chocolate near you.
Yeah, I think one of the easier things to start with would be, if the culture of the workplace is we go out to lunch every day, is that something that has to happen? Like, are there a lot of things that happen? I mean, depending on the situation, right? Like if there's a lot of lunch meetings and things like that, but if it's just, hey, we go out to lunch, well, I'm going to start to bring my own. And then that might be something like being that example, that leader, maybe it inspires somebody else to do the same thing because it's expensive. Right. Yes. And then also, what is the quality of the food and the ingredients that are in there? There's so many things. So having more control awareness, looking into the quality of the ingredients that you're getting, like processed food versus whole real food, thinking of it from, what am I getting out of this food, right? Like, what are the nutrients that I'm getting? Am I getting nutrition from it, or is it pretty empty? Where am I getting my protein? Where am I getting my fat? Where am I getting my fiber? Especially women, midlife, fiber, helping with hormones and all these things, and just bowel movements and the whole GI system and things like that, where that can be a practical strategy to start with. And then all those other little things. Okay, maybe I'm going to make it, we like to have a sweet treat in the afternoon. Now, if it's, I'm crashing every day at 3:00 and I need that caffeine pick me up, then yes, there's definitely like gut health, lots of other factors that go into that. So that's a conversation to be had. But maybe it's just making a little bit harder to get that thing. Like, it's not within arm's reach, but it's in another room or whatever it is, so that it's less frequent. So that can be a way to start, right? Like, you're tapering things off instead of just that cold turkey, because that just usually doesn't work unless someone really has that mindset of like, this is it, I'm done, never going back. But for most people, that's not how, that subconscious works. But from that gut perspective too, looking at quality, the nutrients, these are the things that you're getting in. I think it can then get really dependent. Maybe someone can experiment with it if they want to, but I don't like to usually just start with that as the blanket. I'm really big into that, personalized, what is good for you might not be good for the other. So how do you have that balance there? And I think like quality, looking at that.
Okay.
Hence the importance to really speak to someone that understand, right? That it can be more harmful if we don't know exactly the whole gut.
Yeah. And then I think it also cuts down on the time that can be wasted when you're playing those guessing games and, should I try this and that because it worked for my friend's sister's aunt or whatever it is. Like, my neighbor down the street, she started doing creatine and it was great for her, when it can be causing bloating in somebody else, right? All those different things. So in the long run, it can really make the difference, where it's just, let's be more efficient with your time, your money, your mental energy. All of those things really come into play there.
I was going to suggest, and then you've now completely changed my mind on it, I was going to suggest like maybe one of the ways you could leverage your work bestie is to talk about some of the foods that you're eating and what makes you feel healthier. But to your point, what makes me healthier is not going to make Claude healthier. So it's good to share, but it's not like that's the thing that'll help her as well. So knowing that is really critical too.
But when you think about it too, like in what I do with the inflammatory stuff, I've seen people be really reactive to chicken. And it's like, hey, this is a lean meat. This is really great, but it can be really great for somebody. And for somebody else, that can be reactive and it can be contributing to migraine, IBS, whatever it is. So that's where that distinction comes in, and that we're not cookie cutters, and what works for one doesn't work for another. So, but we need some place to start. Quality of food, nutrient dense foods, I think, is a good place to start.
One of the last things we wanted to ask you is kind of something we started out with in the beginning. If somebody is struggling with their energy, whether at work or just in life in general, and they think it might be related to gut issues, or maybe they think it's just burnout at work, what's the one thing they should start doing today to make themselves feel better?
When you start to think of, what does my routine look like? Where do I carve out time for myself? Are you just getting up, getting ready for work, getting out the door and going? So you're just starting in that busy mode. And then you're going all day long with no break, no time for yourself. And during the workday, that's going to be hard unless you take your lunch break and it's totally free of work, which in my experience working in PT clinic, that was never, ever the case. You're always doing something, working through it. And then, you're coming home, making dinner. And if you have kids, there's a sport activity or homework or, all these other things, or you're taking care of like an aging parent or dog, whatever it is. There's something, and then scroll social media at night, watch TV, and then go to bed, right? So like there's this stimulation that's happening all day long. And then what's one little habit that can be changed? So is it, I take a little bit of time for myself in the morning, like maybe I get up 10 minutes earlier and just do some journaling, gratitude, those kinds of practices are really beneficial. Emotional health, mental health, all that kind of stuff, just that perspective of what we're then carrying throughout the day. Or is it, I'm going to put my phone on like a sleep timer or whatever it is, like that blue light at night, having that affects circadian rhythm, melatonin, all these things that we need for that good quality of sleep. I think that's something that is really, really beneficial. Just where can I carve out time for myself so that I can actually get into this more rest and digest part of my nervous system instead of feeling like I'm on the go. And then it's just this never ending hamster wheel.
I love it because that's where you really see a connection that your body, everything connects, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the way you actually described, there was no food in that day. Really taking some step back that then is going to help you in your gut, in your mind, everywhere. And I think that is so powerful that at the end of the day, sometimes, yes, of course, I'm not going to deny the food and everything, but it's also that little step will make wonder.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, with health, you're a whole person. You're not just, whether it's a diagnosis or your gut, right? Like, you have all these factors going on, physical, mental, emotional, like all of it, in just this one body. And so we have to figure all of these pieces into it because that's what all these different things affect you.
Right?
Kate, where can people connect with you and learn more about you?
On social media, Instagram and Facebook, I'm at Digestion by Design. And my website, also the same thing, Digestion by Design. Try to keep it nice and streamlined and easy as far as that goes. On my website, too, I have a couple of freebies to download. There's an inflammation impact, a 60-second health check that can be really informational as far as, all the different things from head to toe that can be affected, can be showing up from an inflammatory response. So a lot of people really like that one.
And is there any upcoming resources or programs or maybe anything else that we should be on the lookout for you for?
So I'm actually retooling everything. Every spring, I like to revamp what I've done from the year before. So I'm looking to launch into some more workshop courses, more community-based things instead of the one-to-one, so that people don't feel like they are alone and there is a sense of community. So that's going to be some things that are up and coming for the new year.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh,
we'll be on the lookout for that, Kate. I know.
Sure.
I think we'll join for sure. We'll also make sure our
Of
bestie
course.
community is
Yep.
aware of it too.
Amazing.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We really loved all you had to say and for sharing your expertise and insight. And besties, if you liked it, and I'm sure you all did, and are going to do those little steps, you're going to see a big difference. Don't forget to share, subscribe, and click. Stay energized, stay connected, and keep thriving at work.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Remember, whether you're swapping snacks in the break room, rescuing each other from endless meetings, or just sending that perfectly timed meme, having a work bestie is like having your own personal hype squad.
So keep lifting each other up, laughing through the chaos, and of course, thriving. Until next time, stay positive, stay productive, and don't forget to keep supporting each other.